If I had a crystal ball and I could look into this crystal ball and tell you guys exactly where your business opportunities lie looking forward, what is working in the future, what is not working in the future, things that we should totally eliminate, things that we should totally start doing in order to see your business grow and flourish. Imagine how amazing that would be. Guys, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have the next best thing. We've recently just launched our opportunity analysis, and the entire premise of this exercise is to help you guys understand where the holes in your bucket currently lie. Why is that important? Because we don't want to start filling a bucket that's leaking. Guys, for a limited time only, I'm going to be offering this as a free giveaway. It's $350, but for you site shedders, you're going to get it for free. You need to head across to tradie.wiki/grow and enter the code SiteShed to get it for nothing. Off the back of it, book a time to have a chat and we'll see where it takes us. We're looking forward to helping you and seeing where your opportunities lie. Today's podcast has been proudly brought to you by Tradie Web Guys. Tradie Web Guys work with tradespeople only on their websites and marketing solutions to help them stand out from their competition. Everything from web design through to SEO, search engine marketing, content creation, you name it, guys. It is a customized solution for trade-based organizations and it's fantastic. Head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/apply, fill in the form and let's have a conversation.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Tony, welcome back to the Site Shed podcast.
Awesome, mate. Good to be back.
Thanks for coming, mate. This is the second episode that we're conducting on the series about planning, attracting, retaining staff. First episode for you guys that missed that was how to forecast your team building, and I encourage you to go check that out because Tony was dropping some bombs in that episode about what you guys should be doing in the space of things like financial forecasting, organizational chart forecasting, so on and so forth. As always, we try and tie these episodes into the previous. So if you missed that one, go check it out and then jump back into this one. Today, we are talking about using the internal Net Promoter Score. Now, I might start, Tony, with just giving us an overview as to what the NPS is so people understand it, and then we can dive into how to use it internally, because typically speaking, most people, if they are using it all, they're typically using it outward-facing, client-side.
100%. So Net Promoter Score is kind of what it sounds. It's a way of figuring out whether people are referring. It's really a referral tool, and it's a way of judging the strength of the referrals that people may be giving. So Net Promoter Score is how likely are people to refer your business to a friend or colleague, and it's done on a scale. So there's 0 to 10. 0 is no way in hell, and 10 is like extremely likely. And there's a bit of psychology behind it. Don't die there, mate. Concern for you there. And so the way it works is you'll ask clients, hey, how likely are you to refer on a scale of 1 to 10? And if they say 9 or 10, that's deemed to be a promoter. So they have to be pretty excited to actively refer. If they're a 7 or an 8, they're neutral. So they're like, yeah, it's okay, whatever. And less than a 6, they're a detractor. And so there's a formula for working out what your percentage is. You basically you get the promoters, take away the detractors, and you divide it by the number of respondents, and that'll give you a percentage. And obviously, you want a positive percentage, that's good. Negative percentage is not so good. And if you've got a low percentage or a negative percentage, it probably means the quality of the work you're doing and the experience people are having is it's not quite there yet.
So the premise of this conversation is really to establish a team full of happy staff members and team members. So the spin that we're putting on this NPS today is more internally focused and how to use the NPS model to make sure that your staff and team are happy. A lot of guys probably not overly familiar with that, and they just like to presume that they should be happy because they have a job, but that doesn't really fly these days.
I think that's it. We should talk about that because I'm going to be really blunt with this. I think there is a little bit of that attitude with employers, and I get it. I've been there. And you do a lot for your team. You provide a job. You do all the mucking around with tax and H&S and yada, 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 right? So they kind of should be grateful, but not so much often. So, I definitely think that's a thing. The point of this is that the market for talent is like really fierce. It's actually tricky to find good people.
Sure.
And if you want to grow and scale your business, you need great people. Absolute key to success. It makes everything else, easier.
And the only thing harder than finding them is keeping them.
Well, that's exactly right. You find them, you got to keep them, right? And I in our coaching organization, we spend more time on helping people find and build their team than pretty much anything else, except for probably profitability, which is kind of fundamental as well. So the point is, we want to know that they're enjoying where they're working, and that they're likely to stay. That's the first point. The second point is, the best way to attract great people is to be a great place to work.
Sure.
And one, be a great place to work, and two, actually promote and market that you're a great place to work. And a lot of people are like, hey, well, beers and barbecues, let's put some photos of beers and barbecues up on our social media, and that'll kind of look good. Well, that's helpful, but there's a whole lot more to it than that. That's kind of like the nice stuff on top. There's a bunch of more important stuff we need to do, and maybe we'll touch on that, I think, in episode 3 about what some of that stuff is.
Sure.
But by measuring the ability or the likelihood of people referring to their friends or mates to work here, that gives us a pretty good understanding of, well, are we actually on the money with the culture and the environment we're setting up in our business? And I reckon there's nothing more important than that.
So it's important, I suppose, for the viewers and listeners to understand that NPS is typically something you would do once, maybe at tops twice a year with your team. Is that accurate?
We do it more regularly than that.
Okay.
You could do it quarterly.
Okay.
Yep.
And so
quite easily. It's easy to do. I mean, you can do it via a survey.
Yeah.
And it's a blind, anonymous thing, and people just basically need to give it a number.
And so this was the question that I was going to ask, and a lot of listeners and viewers that out there would be thinking, well, they're only going to tell us what I want to hear, which is very often I've been in this situation, actually. I remember the last job that I had, Shutter, they had a specialist come in, and he was, basically the question was, what could we do to make the business better? What isn't working? And then we gave this feedback, and then everyone that offered constructive criticism was basically brought into an office and grilled about, this is not a $4 million business. And we were like, what the fucking point of this whole exercise? Yeah. You just want to be told what you want to hear. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and I reckon that's definitely true. And with any type of feedback, there's that risk. And let's be honest, when you're asking for feedback, it's a little bit like, you feel a bit vulnerable, right? Like,
sure.
it's pretty personal when it's your business and you're getting some feedback about it. So I think in your own mind, if you are really defensive about that, that's probably a good place to start. You may have some things you need to really think about there. But what tends to happen, I guess, Matt, is those people tend to be a bit lukewarm, and they'll do a 7 or an 8. They'll say 7 or 8. Now, 7 or 8 is like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like someone, how's your day? Oh, yeah, it's fine, mate. Yeah. How's things going? Yeah, I'm good. Well, what does that mean? Nothing. Like, it's just, just kind of pleasantries and blah, blah.
Actually, reading up on this recently, with my coach and the coaching group that I'm part of, he was actually saying that 7 is a negative. Like
pretty much.
For that exact reason, like people will just say it as a neutral. So 7.
So let's say, a couple of your team members are like, giving you a 7 or an 8, man, they're ripe to leave.
Right.
Something better comes along, they're gone, because they're like, yeah, look, it's okay. That's not terrible. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm not going to, when I'm having beers with my mates, I'm not going to be saying, hey, you should come and apply for this job. This is great. Just like, yeah, it's okay. It's a paycheck. It's pretty kind of transactional. And that doesn't cut it these days. If you want great people, you got to go a bit further than that.
This is one of those parts of business which, like, obviously you never get taught when you're in college, and it's one of those areas of business in which you probably, for the better part, would rather stick your head in the sand and not actually know. Because, like you say, like some of that can be a reality hit. Like, for the person that's not prepared for it, that could be a huge reality hit. You're like, oh my God, I got an average net promoter score of 6. We're in big trouble here, So if you're going to roll this out, you've got to be prepared to make some pretty quick and significant change.
Look, I reckon, Matt, this is the key to success with leadership, building your team. It's extreme ownership, right? I mean, maybe you've read the book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, Navy SEALs, and they tell about the leadership in the Navy SEALs, and it's like anything that happens in their SEAL platoon is the leader's responsibility. Anything at all. Even if they kind of couldn't control it, well, it's their business, right? And in our businesses, not everything's our fault. I mean, that's, but everything is our responsibility if we want to change it.
Sure.
That's pretty hard to take sometimes. But if you want to have a great team, then you'll be really wanting to get the feedback, because then you can make some changes as well. So I think that's it's confronting for sure. But hey, that's what the winners do, right?
Right, leadership
Athletes, all those people, they'll kind of dig deep into what they're doing, what they need to change, what are the micro improvements that need to happen to actually crush it.
And the thing is as well, like it's really hard to improve on great feedback all the time. Like you need to get honest feedback so you can make positive change. I mean, the worst situation ever is, when you're always, it's not the worst situation ever, but if you're always just getting people that are like yes men giving you the answers you want, then it makes it very hard for you to make improvements. And I think that's what Net Promoter is essentially about. It's bringing the team together and saying, listen, this is what the Net Promoter came back at. How can we do this better? What would you like to see? Involve your team in it. Involve your team in that discussion. And
100%. And that's probably why you want to do it more than once or twice a year.
Sure.
Because that's a long time in business. So quarterly. Look, in our business, we do it monthly.
Oh, you do? Wow.
Every month.
Because I know on the client side, the general consensus is to do it, once or twice a year, but maybe that's different internally. I mean, if your clients are constantly getting emails once a month about Net Promoter, then they're probably going to eventually
quite possibly
give you a 2 because they get too many emails about Net Promoter.
Yeah. I think our focus when we're talking with businesses is to actually turn their business inside out. To think less. Marketing for clients is it's important, of course, but the biggest hold up for most plumbers and electricians and other sub trades is finding great people.
Sure.
And it's easier to find, if you build the team first and you market for team members and really focus on how can I make this a fantastic place that people want to refer to, that when I actually advertise for jobs, the reputation is already out there and it looks good. This is the thing. People put job ads out and they're like, oh, it's not working. I'm not getting anyone. Well, yeah, that's because it's not different. It's,
exactly.
Why would they want to work with you? What's the point? And the A player is already working somewhere else. You've actually got to take them.
Yeah.
So I think, really turning the thing inside out and looking on the inside, what am I doing to actually create the system that gives us great people?
Yeah.
And it's it's an employee net promoter score, NPS, gives you some science around figuring out where you're at and rather than just guesswork. And it's not perfect, but it's heaps better than doing nothing and just sort of winging it.
So changing gears, now we've done the Net Promoter score with our team. Oh, well, first of all, the Net Promoter, it's pretty much one question, isn't it? Or a couple of questions.
One question,
yeah.
So real simple. How likely are you to recommend, and you put your business name in there, so how likely are you to recommend Profitable Tradie as a great place to work to a friend or an associate?
Yeah.
And then you've got 0 to 10 and they give you a mark.
So changing gear off the back of it, then what are some of the things that you like? What's the flow that you should, follow off the back of, rolling out your ENPS to your team in terms of optimization, improving? Like what are the?
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess a lot of it we'll probably kick into into the third.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, and the employer of choice. But I guess the key thing is most of it is actually basic stuff about being a good employer. And it's about, do you have great systems? Do you have some accountability? Do you have key performance indicators? Do you focus on culture and values? And people feel like they've got a future. And then you get to do the nice stuff like beers, barbecues, and fishing, and all that sort of stuff. Because there's actually some science. Productive people are happier.
Sure.
Happy people aren't necessarily productive. So you create a winner. Let's be honest. Some people are just not great employees. We don't want them, right?
Right.
So let's not talk about them. But the other ones, they actually love to do well. They love to feel like they're contributing, and we want to create an environment where they can be productive and grow.
Exactly right. And this is probably not a surprise to anyone, but people want to feel supported. They want to feel encouraged, and they want to feel like they're always like they're learning and they're advancing. And I recently just recorded a podcast with a fellow who's talking about the same thing. It's like, as a business owner, you've kind of got to be able to, offer that to your employees so they feel like they're striving for something, Yeah,
and it's not about being soft as well. Actually, sometimes people, it's quite a challenge emotionally for a lot of us as leaders to actually be firm and put some guidelines in place. So I think people respect that as well.
Sure.
But you just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
You kind of call people when they go outside the tram lines.
Yeah.
And everyone sort of respects that as well as supporting them. It's a bit like being a mum or a dad sometimes, to be honest.
It's very much like that.
I got 4 kids running around, mate. No.
Jesus.
Yeah. We won't talk about that's a tough job, right?
Sure. All right, let's wrap this one up. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about becoming an employer of choice. We're going to sort of elaborate on a few of the things that we've covered off in this episode and maybe put a bit more of a practical application to some of those things. Once again, guys, this was the second episode of Planning, Attracting and Keeping Amazing Staff series with Tony Fraser-Jones from profitability.com. Head across to the show notes where you can get access to the book that Tony's just released, and I'll put some links there on how you can get hold of Tony as well. Tony, let's wrap this one up. We're going to come back with part 3. We're going to be talking about becoming an employer of choice.
Happy days. Do it soon.
Cool. Ciao. It's a wrap. Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to the siteshed.com where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.